Do you know that recent studies have found that your tone of voice is 2 times more important than the content of what you say? Stay tuned today on Moxie Talk. We are going to highlight some powerful ways to speak on camera. Hey everyone, I'm Fia Fastbinder and welcome to Moxie Talk, where we help you find your voice, share your message, and lead with confidence. Today we are talking about how to have a powerful voice specifically for your on-camera opportunities. Now, the study I mentioned earlier was a research study that they looked at 123 executives' voices. And what they found was that the quality of their voice had more impact than the content of what they were saying. Another really interesting study was done with recruiters and hiring managers, where they showed a huge uptick in the people hired that had energy and enthusiasm in their voice, despite their experience levels. As you can see, the tone of your voice and the way you use your voice can really help what we call executive presence. And around Moxie, we actually call this vocal executive presence. So if executive presence is how you convey authority, subject matter expertise, leadership qualities, so vocal executive presence is how you amplify your message of authority and executive presence, or undermine your message of authority and executive presence. Now, of course, we all want to amplify, right? So there are some ways we can do that, and especially on camera. Oftentimes when we're speaking for media appearances, podcasts, webinars, people can't see us. And it's even more important to have an amazing voice. Now, let me give you a quick example of how tone of voice might work and why these studies pointed to the importance of tone of voice. I could say, have a nice day, or I could say, have a nice day. I could say, wow, that blouse, or I could say, wow, that blouse. Just changing tone of voice has so much to do with undermining or amplifying our message. So now that I've gotten your buy-in that the quality of your voice is important, let's talk about the 7 deadly sins of vocal issues. Now, I have worked with every kind of client under the sun, with every kind of vocal issue known to woman or mankind, and I'm here to talk about the most important ones that we need to correct if we want to make sure that we have vocal executive presence. The first one is what we call vocal fry, and it's become really popular with millennials and Gen Zers. This is this idea of your voice kind of going into your throat like this. And why we call this vocal fry is if you can imagine a frying pan where the egg kind of sizzles as it's frying, that's exactly what you're doing with your voice. It's like this, like everything I say goes into my throat like that. This kind of quality is really difficult to listen to. And the way to correct it is actually through breathing. When we breathe correctly and we allow all that breath to come out on our voice, we aren't closing our vocal cords so much, and they're not hitting each other and creating that vocal fry. Vocal fry is also a habit. So a lot of it is just bringing awareness to the fact that you're doing it, and then you can start to correct it. Now, if you're thinking, I have no idea how to do breath support, we have several videos that show you how to do this. And this is part of a series where we will continue to talk about the importance of breath support and show you how to do it. So before I go on to the next deadly sin, let me talk about a group of people that I recently trained that had vocal fry. Now, these were millennials who worked for a Fortune 100 company. They were in the marketing department, super smart, super savvy, super passionate people. They were oftentimes speaking to people older than them, more experienced than them, and higher up the executive chain than them. And just by kind of speaking like this kind of like thing like that they were doing, the vocal fry, it really undermined their vocal executive presence. So we worked on breathing. We worked on breaking this habit, because the first step to changing any habit, if you watch my videos, you've heard me say this, is awareness. And after, I'm going to say about 2 months, which sounds accurate because most habits take about 60 days to form. About 2 months later, I had them all send me a recording of their voices, and they were crystal clear. So if vocal fry is one of your problems, you can definitely correct it if you want to. And guess what, folks? Vocal fry on microphone sounds even worse. Another issue that goes hand in hand with vocal fry is uptalk, or upspeak, we call it. And that's this habit of going up at the end of your sentences like everything's a question. The problem with this is a lot of the things you're saying are not questions. They are statements. And if you do this, you are sending an unconscious message to your audience that you aren't sure about what you're saying. Especially in your name. Some people say their names going up at the end. My name is Fia Fastbinder. Your name is not a question. It is a statement. So in order to create this kind of executive presence that we're all looking for, it is absolutely necessary to eliminate uptalk. I recently worked with a woman who was a leader in the financial space. Now that is a very male-dominated space. And simply by eliminating her uptalk, she saw so much changes in the way people perceived her at the company. There was a difference in the way they talked to her, the kind of clients that they were giving her. And all we really did, aside from some minor issues around body language, is eliminate uptalk. The third deadly sin of vocal issues is monotone voices. And monotone voices, and we had no expression in our voice, kind of like this. We just speak everything flat lines. If you can imagine that your voice was an electrocardiogram, there would be no peaks and valleys. It would be all monotone. The problem with this is that our brains actually register and process language in peaks and valleys. Our brain is listening for these peaks and valleys. And that is why we tune out monotone speakers. Now, I know that vocal variety is very difficult for some people. Some people, they just naturally don't have super passionate, super expressive voices. And that's okay. There are some very easy ways to make sure that you are getting vocal variety in. One easy way is to build in pauses. Another easy way is to emphasize certain words, punch them with your voice. Another easy way is to say some things faster and then maybe slow some things down. You can mark all of these ideas, the pausing, the pacing, the emphasis in your talking points so you remember to do them. And this is an easy way to get some vocal variety in your voice so that people listen. And especially if you are on camera selling a product, explaining a solution, talking about your company. So if you are one of these people that has a monotone voice, make sure to take this time and this opportunity to mark your pauses, mark your emphasis, mark your pacing so that you don't give the impression to your audience that you don't care. Next on this list of deadly sins are voices that are too high in register, or what I call your head voice. And that's kind of speaking up here. When we get nervous, a lot of women do this. Unfortunately, women, this is a vocal problem that affects us more than men. And the problem with this is it really undermines our executive presence. And it's unfortunate it happens to us when we get nervous. You probably know what I'm going to say. For the fix, it is 100% breath support. Because when we incorporate our diaphragm into our speaking and we have breath support, our voices get richer, they get more resonant, they get more volume, and sometimes they drop in pitch up to 2 decibels. So make sure if you're one of those women that you know when you get nervous, your voice goes into that head register and you don't like it, watch my videos on breath support. It will make night and day difference. So next, we're talking about voices that are too fast. That's really a speech pattern. Now, a lot of us, when we get nervous, we speak too fast. Our whole MO for, doing this interview is to end the interview. Our whole MO for doing the video is to end the video. So we think if we speak faster, then we can get off. Some of us aren't even aware that we're doing that. And some of us are just trying to cram way too much content into way little time. So if you have been told in the past that you speak too fast, I could tell you all day long to slow down. And I learned this the hard way after coaching hundreds and hundreds of speakers. Telling them to slow down does not work. But what does work is building in pauses to your talking points. Because when you pause, you naturally put on the brakes. Did you see how I did that? When you pause, you naturally put on the brakes. You allow yourself a chance to breathe, to slow down, and you allow your audience a chance to catch up with what you're saying and build these pauses in. Like I said, mark them in your talking points. If you're more of an impromptu person, then practice pausing in certain places. If there's a teleprompter and you're reading off the teleprompter, put a P next to where you want to pause so that you give yourself an opportunity to slow down. Last but not least is too soft voices. Now, we don't have to worry about our volume when we are mic'd. Now, that is not a problem. But it still sounds very inconfident and lacks, power when I speak like this. So even though we know the microphone will add that volume to our voice, it doesn't add power, it doesn't add authority, and it doesn't add oomph. So if your voice is too soft and you want to make sure that you're speaking with more volume, again, breathing really helps that. It's the only way to get more volume in our voice, but we never want to scream on camera. Doesn't sound good at all. The other is just mindset. Making sure that your mindset is, I am speaking to the person on the other side of that teleprompter. I am speaking to the cameraman. I am speaking to, if my interviewer is really close to me, I'm speaking to a person that's sitting behind the person I'm interviewing. Just this change in mindset will really help you make sure that you have vocal executive presence. Now, the last problems are more medical problems. Some people have a really difficult time with throaty voices, and I would highly recommend you see an ENT. This is more common than you think. Sometimes I'll work with clients, work, and none of the breathing techniques are working. And this is an actual medical problem with your vocal cords, and I highly suggest you see an ENT that works with speakers, actors, and singers. The last tip I'm going to leave you with is something that is 100% only to do with speaking into a microphone. Now, when we speak into a microphone, there is something called aspirating our T's and our S's. I'm doing it there. Can you hear me saying T's and S's? It's called aspirating because I'm pushing more air out when I say these words. It sounds awful in a microphone. You need to be aware of making sure you don't aspirate it, T and S. And this is simply just putting your tongue farther back in your mouth so that you don't push the air through like that. So there you go, 7 deadly sins of speaking on camera and how to correct them. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you how to correct them because I am a speaker coach and I should have some tips for you to correct these problems. I hope that this video helped you. I hope it helps you go out and speak on camera with vocal executive presence, with that voice of leadership or that inner DJ voice that you know is You can do it. And if you like this video, make sure to share it, like it, subscribe to our channel so that you can see more videos about this. I mentioned breathing a ton of times. We have several videos on breathing. You can see them if you subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in speaker coaching or presentation skills training or media training, check out our website, moxieinstitute.com. Lots of information there about all of these different services that Moxie offers. And I'll see you next time.